there's a fine line, as what was said earlier. There's a fine line between military and first responders. They have a lot of similarities, dangerous situations, agile thinking, and I would also say, have this bloodline of being a servant leader. So, it's an honor for me to do this. I got to take you back a little bit, just for just a short stroll before I get into Bush Combat Development Complex. So, I kind of got into this defense innovation, first responder innovation, several years ago. Army Futures Command is a new 4-star organization that's focused on defense innovation, trying to change the landscape of how we deal not only with academia, the big companies, the big defense primes, but also how we deal with small innovative companies and startups. So it was certainly a great undertaking. We went from 26 people to 26,000 people in a matter of a year. So we ourselves were a startup trying to manage a merger. And the focus there was the future of war and what did that battlefield look like and what kind of technologies we needed. So it's a kind of a transition into what I'm doing now. And I'll speak a little bit about the Bush Combat Development Complex. So if you're not familiar with RELIS, the RELIS campus, it has its roots as an old Army airfield, which supported World War II. It's 2,300 acres. So I'm going to kind of zoom you out, 2,300 acres. And it is, focused on having this tight ecosystem, defense ecosystem, which I think has a lot of application to what we're doing here and what we're talking about here at this symposium. So I'll give you a little bit about the vision of the Chancellor and Vice Chancellor. Visions are interesting until you start putting resources against it, then it's very compelling. So there was this idea of how do we build a national security ecosystem on the RELIS campus. So they pitched an idea, and I'll talk a little bit about the idea because those ideas now are coming into fruition. And when I talk about resourcing, what I'm talking about is a $200 million investment on the RELIS campus, which is a big deal. And that is a partnership between the Texas State or Texas A&M Board of Regents and the systems, the state of Texas, and the Army Futures Command, to be specific. So the first piece of facility that I want to talk about is what we call the Ballistic Aero-Optic Materials Hypersonics Test Range. And just like a lot of these exquisite type of weaponry, there's a lot of enabling technology that goes into it. So that's one thing I learned when traveling the world with General Murray and looking at novel technologies and novel small startup companies, is that you might not need to make the actual end item of a tank, for example, but there's a lot of small things that go into making a tank that makes it a viable weapon system. So this Ballistic Aero-Optic Materials Test Range, it's going to be the longest, most instrumented hypersonics tunnel, basically, in the United States. And it will be the largest by ×3. So if you could imagine, the largest now is about 300 meters. Going to a kilometer is going to be a game changer. And it's going to be a game changer, not just for Texas A&M, not just for the state of Texas, but really for the nation. The next is the Innovation Proving Ground. So that's Think of 220 acres that's going to be fully instrumented with 5G research test network that has high, high mobility course, rugged terrain course. It will also have subterranean when all completed. And this will be a one-of-kind kind of a research test type of facility. And the third thing is the Research Integration Center. So what's important about this Research Integration Center is all the data that's coming from the Hypersonics tunnel and from the Innovation Proving Ground will be sent back to this 80,000 square foot headquarters, basically the central nervous system of the Bush Combat Development Complex, so that we could have our industry partners or our government partners take a look at the data, analyze the data, and then be able to tweak the codes and then go back out and try again. So this is all about learning. This is about failing. This is about fixing. It goes back to learning again and then trying. So this is a cycle that we wanted to make sure that is able to exist, as it is going to continue to be an agile process. So the last piece that I want to talk about, and I'll bring it all together, is this. We're going to have a 20,000 square foot building called the Technology Innovation Modernization Catalyst. So this is where we'll host industry, big, medium, small, and startups. It will be a place to discuss IP transfer. They'll have workspaces. It will tech transfer. It is an area where potentially, these bigger primes can take a look at a small company and see how they can incorporate the technologies that a small company, a startup might have, help them scale and or acquire, depending on the needs of that startup or small company. So as you can see, we're trying to fill the space of how do we become a defense, national security defense ecosystem here on the RELIS campus. Just one more thing on the RIC. The RIC is, I said, is 80,000 square feet. It's going to have some maker space, 3D printing space. It's going to have machine tooling space. It will have high bays, data ports, secure area. So it is going to be something that we can all sit down and collaborate over with our industry and our government partners. So those are the types of things that's happening on RELIS. I'm proud to be on that team. I'm proud to be a part of that ecosystem. And in the end, what this is going to do is it's going to help our first responders with technologies that come out of it, and then also with our defense partners. And the real customer there is not our higher echelon. It's really the soldiers, sailors, Marines,